Welcome to Main Street Mavericks, celebrating conversations with exceptional Main Street businesses who serve friends and neighbors in your community. Here's your host, Joel Helfer.
Good afternoon. This is Joel Helfer, Main Street Mavericks Radio, and today we have a very distinguished guest, Mr. Stephen H. Kiges, and Stephen is the co-founder of the Coach Academy. Stephen is a speaker, an author, an entrepreneur, a coach trainer, and a certified master life coach, a distinction held for coaches who have logged over 5,000 hours with clients. He studied the French horn at Juilliard, and his classmates included Yo-Yo Ma, Wynton Marsalis, Kevin Kline, and Robin Williams. Wow, what a resume. After 15 years as an international performer and a university teacher, he went into different businesses and ended up in the coaching business as co-founder of the Coach Academy. Steve, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much, Joel, and thank you for that very nice introduction.
Well, I only gave a little snippet of all your accomplishments, and congratulations on all your successes. I appreciate it. And today we're going to talk a little bit about coaching and why coaching is useful in the real world and to individuals. And let me ask you, what's the big deal about coaching? Why does it seem to be such a big thing right now?
Well, it's something that I'm super passionate about, and I really appreciate the opportunity here to kind of talk about coaching, how it can help people, and how people can improve their coaching skills. So that's wonderful just to start from there. And, you're right. Coaching has kind of become the in thing now. It's one of those things. Sometimes, we'll call people up to see if we can book an appointment with them. They go, well, let me see. No, 2 o'clock, I have my coaching call. Can't miss that. So it's actually integrated. Yeah, it's integrated into people's lives. And this isn't just, mom and pop and everyone. It's actually becoming more and more popular inside business, executives, CEOs, governments, politicians, etc. And I think the big lesson here and why it has proliferated so much is because not that coaches haven't been around, but the science of coaching has certainly matured a lot. So back, years, 40, 50 years ago, we always had coaching. And coaching was really considered, it was in sports, and it was really a physical type of coaching. So if you went to your football coach, he would tell you kind of plays to be in, right, how to tackle, how those kind of things go. If you went to your tennis coach, he would tell you how to hold the racket, how to do your backswing, etc. And then what started happening, and this really started changing in the early 70s, and I'll tell more of a story about that. A fellow named Timothy Galway came around, and he wrote this book called The Inner Game of Tennis. And this really revolutionized coaching because what he wanted to bring to the table was it wasn't just simply skills of holding it this way or moving your body like this or breathing like this. It's what goes on in the inner game of people. What differentiates someone who is good at something that someone is at the top level of their game, that someone's great at it. And so this is where really modern day coaching started. Where it really works in and why it's proliferated is that for any of us to become successful at things, really successful almost at any level, it requires a team. It requires other people, input, experience, support, etc. There used to be this saying you used to hear a lot, I'm a self-made man. Right. Maybe you heard that, Sure. Well, I even think even back then it was a fallacy. I mean, I've never met anyone that was a self-made man, particularly. I mean, so you didn't have support people, you didn't have secretaries, you didn't have lawyers helping you, you didn't have a team of people in your business. To be successful in our life, we need different support structures. We need people to be able to come in and look at the issues that we're dealing with and bring different flavors to them, helping us looking at them from different areas. And we really need this, for us to be successful. And so that's why it's being adopted. And I think even more in our hectic, day-to-day lives where we're all a bit ADHD, we're all running from one place to another, maybe not being fulfilled in our lives the ways that we want. A coach is someone that we can go to get grounded, to get clarity around what's really important in our lives, and then start building that process of how we do it. I can actually tell you a really great story that I learned from one of my mentors that really kind of hones this in. And I think a lot of the listeners can relate to this. So one of my mentors, trainers, et cetera, was a fellow named Dov Barron. Now, some people may even know Dov. He's very widely known. I think he was voted by Inc. magazine one of the top 100 leadership speakers in North America. He spoke at the UN this year. He spoke in Iran about leadership in business. So very, astute business person and leader in what he does, training leadership with business leaders. Now, I happen to know Dov before he came to this level. So we're talking now 22 years ago. So Dov was your guy with a vision. He wanted to make a big impact on people. He was a good speaker. He had some good skills, but he lived in not the nicest rented house. He didn't drive the nicest car. I'll be nice to him, but in case Dov listens to this, it wasn't the nicest car. And he definitely wasn't the most successful person. But he had that drive to want to do it. And he stumbled and spurted and wondered, how am I going to get my money for my rent? I mean, he was like a lot of people trying to break into personal development, into doing coaching, mentoring, etc. And it was a struggle for him. And he told me a story that has stuck with me for all these years. So he was a fan of Tony Robbins, like a lot of us, and he went to a Tony Robbins program. And this was years ago when you actually had access to Tony. Now, he has his bodyguards and entourage, and he does his thing and disappears. But back when Tony started, after he did his program, he would invite people up onto the stage to, ask them questions and interact with them. So right. Dov went up to him after, and Tony said, "So how you doing? How was the program?" And Dov said, of course, "Thank you, etc." And so, how do you feel about this? Is this helpful? And Dov, being very honest, always upfront kind of person, said, "Well, to be honest with you, I'm really pissed off." Mm-hmm. And Tony kind of went, really? What's going on? Why would you be angry? And Dov said, "I think I'm really talented. I think I have a lot to offer people. I actually think I'm probably about as good as you. I can do what you're doing. But I'm struggling. I live in this, old rented place. I drive a old beat up car, and I struggle day to day. You're wildly successful, and everything I try, I don't seem to be able to move forward." And the words that Tony said to him have stuck with me for years and years, and it was, "Who is on your team?" And so for Dov, it was, what he said to him, "Who's on your team? Do you think that I got to where I am by myself? That I go at home and I sit on my kitchen table and I send all these emails out and I make phone calls to everyone and I book the hotel rooms and I edit all my materials and I record all my videos and I do everything?" He said, "No, it's impossible." He said, "I have coaches. I have my own mentor. I have different people on my team that some people are experts in marketing. Some people are experts on HR and helping get people into the business, etc. So if you want to be successful in this or any other endeavor, who are the people that you need on your team to drive you, to support you in that success?" That's what a coach is. We are a member of a person's team, whether that's we're a member of their team to help them get into a career that is more something that they love to do and they want to do? Is it to help fix a relationship, to help someone improve their health, lose some weight, to help them survive the trauma of relationship breakups and being single parents, or whatever it is? We don't do these things alone. We need people in our corner, and that's what coaches are, and that's why we're in great need and demand these days.
How do you go about picking a coach that can help you and be a good member of your team? What criteria does the average person need to think about when he makes that important decision?
I think that's a great question. And because not everyone is for everyone. It's almost, we can go to the doctor, we can hire a lawyer, et cetera, and sometimes they're just not the right fit. So, the best thing to do is we call coaches up and we interview them. And as coaches, in the coaching business, we have something called the enrollment process. And it's something that all coach training schools, including ours, we train our coaches in. And that's how to go through this process of speaking to a potential client, answering their questions, giving them a flavor or a sense of the value of coaching. See if they're a good match. Is there a good personality match? Is the coach competent in the area of coaching? Which is kind of interesting, because coaching is really about being a professional in the coaching process, not being an expert in the area that you have to be coached on. Actually, sometimes it can be detrimental. Sometimes if you have someone who's a nutritionist and a personal trainer and you hire them as your coach, they could be someone with preconceived notions that say the only way that you can be healthy is doing it this way. And so we go through this process, we go through an interview, and I would say every coach that I know has some kind of process to take you through. See if you do, and then you work out, the process to see if this works. Regular evaluations. So with our clients, every 3 or 4 sessions, we're going to have an evaluation. Where are you in this process? Are you happy? Are things going well? Is there anything I can do? Do you feel you're getting really great value from working with me? How could we change things? And so there needs to be a back and forth on this. And, certainly not everyone is made for everyone in coaching. And the whole coaching relationship is based on this kind of openness, based on the openness to say, I'm not really sure if this is going right. And sometimes as a coach, it doesn't happen often, but sometimes as a coach, we're going to go, you know what? There's an issue. I don't think I'm the right person. I don't think I'm handling things. Maybe I need to refer this person on. Or sometimes it could even be, maybe coaching is not the right modality for this person. Maybe they need some kind of counseling or therapy. Maybe they need more training. It's not coaching they need. They actually need training and understanding and logic and details around doing a certain process. So it's incumbent upon the coach to have a good way to handle this with clients. And with our clients, they should also be very particular about how they sense they are with this person and then make some evaluations. Coaching is not, there are therapists out there and there's jokes around there, like I think it's Barbara Streisand. I've been in therapy for 30 years and she's kind of proud of it. That is very unusual for a coaching relationship. Coaching is usually very strategic. So this is the issues. What do we have to look at? How do we get you there? And we do it over a specific time. It's very unusual to have coaching clients for year after year after year. 3 months, 6 months, sometimes a year, sometimes 2 months. It really depends on the issue that's there. But it would start with this client interview process where the client interviews the coach and the coach interviews the client to see if there's a good match, a good synergy to work together.
One of the biggest problems today with people I find in all walks of life is taking action. And how can a coach help you just be accountable for yourself to do what you need to do to move forward?
Yeah, that's a really great point. There's actually an article in Psychology Today, it's probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it talked about accountability. And one of the things that started happening with some therapists and some coaches, what they started to do is that between coaching or therapeutic sessions, they would have what we call laser sessions. They would be 15-minute check-ins. And certainly there are some coaches, especially in the business area, where a lot of times it's just ticking things off. Yes, I wrote this blog post. I contacted this person. You're checking things off, and that's accountability way to do it. There's ways that we can do it in coaching, also different formulas. But it really comes down to action. And the first thing as a coach is going to be an expert in understanding the science of motivation. Because everything that we are going to do in our life, whether that, I'm going to go and decide to vacuum my carpet, clean the dishes, do my taxes, requires some kind of motivation. And so we have to be very skilled in the science of motivation and how to work with our client to get them to some level of motivation. I mean, we don't always have to be bouncing out of around the walls and, so excited to do something. Sometimes it's just a decision. But then the other thing when we start talking about accountability is how good are the things that we're being accountable to defined? Mm-hmm. So another skill we learn in coaching a lot is, what are those things that the client's going to be accountable for? What are they going to take on to be accountable for? So here's a really good example. Okay, so someone wants to improve their health. Okay, this week I'm going to go to the gym. Coach A goes, fantastic, go to the gym, bye, I'll see you next week.
Right.
Now, is that defined? Does the client really have a clear understanding of what is success this week as far as improving my health? If I go to the gym one time, is that going to make me feel good like I'm moving towards my health? Is it 5 times? Is it 7 times? And what comprises these workouts? And am I going to do the same thing? So one of the things we do in coaching, even before we get to the accountability part, is really closely define is, what is success for you this week? And that can really depend. I like to go back and I remind a lot of our students is, a lot of us, and we all have to include ourselves, are overwhelmed. We have too much stuff to do. And we are here to support our clients on their process, not on our process. So it's really about them picking these action steps, clearly defining them, and deciding what will successfully be for them. So sometimes that's 1 or 2 little things. Sometimes it can be a grab bag of things. One of the things I kind of go back to is, and I'm going to date myself, there was a movie, I think it was probably in the 80s, with Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray called What About Bob?
Oh,
remember that? Okay. Okay, and Richard Dreyfuss, he's the therapist, and he wrote a book called Baby Steps. And of course, Richard Dreyfuss takes everything, literally, and it's a very comedic movie. But it's about, I like that term baby steps, because if we try, what happens when we decide, I have to do all of this week? I have to get everything done. What happens? We create stress. We get unmotivated. And how many times do we go, well, I didn't do anything. I didn't get anything done. And so this is, again, one of those coaching skills to really understand our client, what is success for them, and what are they capable of? What do they feel confident in that they can take that action step this week? What will they be accountable for? And, that can guarantee it's, I have a phrase that I use called non-negotiable. Uh-huh. There's certain things in our life that are non-negotiable. If I have to go pick up my daughter from school at 3 o'clock, I'm not going to go, too busy today. She's 4, she's 5 years old. She'll find her way home, she'll do it. No, it's a non-negotiable. So one of the phrases I use with my clients is, what can we set up this week that would be non-negotiable, that you can look in your schedule, that you can fit it in, and then when we meet next time, you're going to feel like you made good progress. You're not going to be all the way there, but you've made those steps. And so that's what we do as coaches, is we align the motivation, we align the action steps, and then we hold them accountable. We hold them accountable, but what's more important is they hold themselves accountable. And we're back there to support them, to be in their corner, to believe in them that they can accomplish this. And in actuality, sometimes do we always succeed? Do I call some of my clients and they go, how did you do this week? Well, some good, not so good. And so we are human. The thing is to look at what we had to do, what were those steps, what we were successful at, what we weren't successful at, and then how do we adjust things? Do I need to change my outcome a little bit? Do I need to change the process a little bit? Because if we come down on ourselves, and I think a lot of us, come down on ourselves, oh, I failed, I was horrible, bad me, and we start our monkey minds going about how terrible we are and I'll never get there and woe is me, and we become victims, and we can all go there. What is the chance that we're going to get to success, that we're going to get to where we want to get in our life? Not a heck of a lot. And so as working with coaches and skilled coaches, we really work with that. And failure is looked at feedback. It's a learning opportunity for us.
It sounds to me like what you're talking about is focus.
Yeah.
And what to focus on. And it seems like part of the issue that people have a lot of trouble with is their misconceptions about coaching, maybe focusing on the wrong way to use it. What's some of the misconceptions people have about what you do on a daily basis?
Okay. So if you're asking with the misconceptions of what a public or someone who's looking for a coach would have about a coach, is that?
It's more the individual who decides whether or not coaching is the right way for him to proceed to improve his lot in life. Okay,
that's a great question. So there is a perceived idea that coaches are going to tell us what to do, that there's somehow they have the answer. And I think it's something that we have ingrained in us as human beings, that there's always going to be someone that can tell us what to do, that's going to have the right answer, that's going to, what they're going to say is going to be golden words. And so some people go into coaching and think, okay, coach, lay it on me, do your magic spell, do it. And the truth of the matter is, coaching is a leadership process. And what's interesting is, some people, well, you're the leader, you're the coach. No, it's not. The leader of the coaching process is actually my client. And when I go through that introductory session with the client, this is all made really clear, that you are the leader. I'm here to support you in becoming the leader of your life. So we're going to go and we're going to explore these goals, dreams, ideals, these things that you want, the challenges that you have. And it's for me to help you reframe them, get a clearer understanding of them, come up with some different ideas from different perceptions to do that. And then how can we enact? How can we get into action to start moving down that road? And it's actually something that this is probably one of the big differentiating points between coaching and therapy. Because a lot of times we go to therapists is because we're kind of below normal. We're not the way self-esteem can be, or some kind of mental illness, is we're not up kind of the status quo. We're not up to a median line. And what we need from therapists is to help us have greater understandings, to give us different frameworks to look at. We need them to be our leader. There's actually reparenting processes in therapy where the client counts on the therapist to bring them new visions of these things and do a lot of telling and explaining how things work, etc. That's done very, very little in coaching. Very little, that idea. So in coaching, we really look at what we call is the power balance between the coach and the client. And we want to keep it, there's one phrase we use called coactive coaching. We're co-creating ourselves, this relationship together. We're trying to keep it where I'm not in charge of you. I'm not the person with all the answers. We're here together synergistically to discuss these issues, discuss these problems, and then have a frank and open discussion around them. This is something that a lot of times is not available to us, even though, in our businesses, we might sit down with different employees and sit down and have these frank discussions about what do you think we should do, et cetera. However, a lot of times there's a power imbalance because, gee, can I really tell that to my boss? That he's really overbearing and he never appreciates anyone's work, and that's why people aren't working well. That's pretty touchy. That doesn't work very well. In personal relationships, can I really tell my spouse or my child or certain things? And do I have the right demeanor, kind of an arm's length demeanor, to actually say those things? In coaching, we don't have that power balance because as a coach, I'm not trying to impress my client. I don't want them to go, wow, you're the most amazing, you're the greatest. You're not, I don't need gurus. I don't need to be someone's guru as their coach. On the other hand, I work for them not to impress me. I'm not here for you to get my approval of things. Now, certainly in the human interaction as we go back, I'm certainly proud of my clients. I express that I'm proud of them because sometimes, we tend to discount some of the achievements that we have, and we want someone in our corner, and we want someone to be proud of us. That even goes back to Maslow's hierarchy of achievement. We want community, we want people in our corner, but we don't want to cross that level where the client is dependent on us to prop them up. We want to have them explore. So you achieve this. What does this mean to you? How are you proud of yourself? Why are you proud of yourself? What have you learned now that you can go that will help you in the future? So it's going to be a little give and back, but I think that's one of the really big misconceptions is I'll get a coach and then they'll wave their magic spell and I will be off to go. My life will be perfect. And coaching, honestly, it's a hard work. It's challenging. It's a challenging relationship for the coach to be skilled, to be able to be artistic and skillful using the coaching process. And it's challenging for the client to be ready for the challenge. And that is something, again, I'll go back to one of your first questions around how do you evaluate. What a coach does is evaluate, is this client ready for the challenge? For the robustness, for the for that challenge in the coaching relationship, because we have to find out not everyone is. One of the terminologies we use is ego strength. Therapists use it and coaches use it. If I push on my client and I challenge them, they have a belief, I can't do this. And we say, are you sure? 100%? How have you tried it? Blah, blah, blah. And they push back, well, maybe if I tried this, maybe if I tried that, and they get more engaged, they get inspired, they start seeing possibility. That can be a great coaching relationship.
Let me ask you a question. Tell me how you turn one of these challenges into success. Give me a short story about one of your clients that you're really proud of and what happened.
Okay. Here's a really good one that happened just the other day. So a client who's working to build their coaching business, and they're looking at different marketing strategies. And one of the marketing strategies this coach wants to do is start doing podcasts. So she went out and she researched podcasting, and she bought the best microphones that you can get, and she got the best camera, and she spent all this money. And it's 3 weeks later, and she said, I have all this great equipment. I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and it's still sitting on my desk. Some of it's still in a box, and I can't get myself to do anything with it. So we started this conversation about what that is. What is podcasting? How do you think this will help you? What's the motivation to do this? And what's your belief around podcasting?
Mm-hmm.
And she said something really interesting. She said, let me think of exactly what she said. I'm not the kind of person that can just think off the cuff and talk for 30 minutes. And wasn't this interesting? I'm not the kind of person that can just speak off the cuff and talk for 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll give you some insight into coach training. We talk about maps in coach training, people's maps of achievement or how they're viewing a certain thing. She just told me her map. Her map of doing a podcast required, first of all, it was kind of the law according to Sheila of doing podcasts was they have to be off the cuff. Her other law of doing podcasts is they have to be 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the rule that she put herself. If she turns that microphone on, she better start talking for 30 minutes. Now, so when we looked at this, I started challenging her on some of these laws. So where does it say in the Bible of the laws of podcasting, thou shalt not prepare for podcasts? Thou shalt not have an outline for the podcast. Thou shalt not do any preparation for the podcast. And of course she started laughing. She thought, okay, yeah, obviously I should have a theme for it. Maybe I could write out for myself 4 or 5 kind of key points that I want to do in this podcast. Great. Then we started looking at the other rule and law that she had was they have to be 30 minutes. And so again, through your research, so you found that everyone does 30-minute podcasts. There's no exceptions. You'll be struck by a bolt of lightning if you don't do 30 minutes.
That's true.
Yeah, and it's not, of course. And she actually immediately said, of course. There's a couple people that she follows on YouTube, coaching and marketing people. They do like 3-minute podcasts. They pull up the camera, they put it in front of their face, they're walking down the street, and there's one point that they want to make to people. So it had nothing to do with that. So for her, this was an epiphany. It just took, you could hear it in her voice, the weight of this, knowing that she wanted to do podcasts, knowing it's a really good strategy for her, but not believing in herself that she could do it. It was just taking a ton of weight off of her shoulder. And within 2 days, it was like, I want to get out of this coaching call because I want to go do a podcast. Like she could not wait to go and do that. And now she does 3 or 4 per week. These little kind of short ones, they're never over 5 minutes. She actually writes in a diary of all these different ideas. When she walks down the street, she thinks of different ideas that she could be talking about, and she does that, and she's extremely successful with this. So that's a great example of how we can do it. And it's also a really good example of how we get in our own way, how we use our own belief systems to cause ourselves stress and not achievement. Is how we frame these things, how we create these maps and beliefs for ourselves that are fiction and fantasy, but they're reality, and they end up being reality for us.
This has been an eye-opening conversation on coaching, Steve, and I know the audience appreciates it very much. What would you say would be one big takeaway that people listening to our fun discussion about coaching should take away from this discussion that they could use to make their daily life just a little bit better?
Okay. Well, that's not an easy one because you can hear I'm so passionate and love this stuff. There's so many things in here.
Pick one.
why don't we start at the end and the last example I gave, and maybe if we can remember what is my map. So how am I looking at what I want to achieve? So if someone says I want to improve my health, what's my belief around improving my health? I can never have ice cream as long as I live. I can never have sugar. I have to go and sweat 2 hours a day in the gym. What are these maps? And are these maps reality? So the little nugget is look at the map and challenge yourself. Is that really reality, or are there other ways for you to achieve what's really important in your life?
That's a great takeaway. And How do people go about finding more about you, Steve, and about the Coach Academy and ways that they can improve the quality and maybe make their life a little better? How do they get a hold of you if they want to actually use your services, or at least investigate the opportunity to use your services?
Okay. So probably the best is to start out on our website. Now, we're an ICF, International Coach Federation accredited school, and that's something that's very important. And we won't get into that now, but there's a certain kind of accreditation process that schools can go to so the public knows that that school meets a certain criteria, a certain professionalism, and we have our ICF certification. So going to our website, and our website is thecoachtrainingacademy.com. To get to ours, you have to remember we're thecoachtrainingacademy.com. There's a story for why we're the Coach Training Academy, but I won't go into that. So first of all, go there. Have a look. You can look at some of our coaches that have been through the program. You can get an understanding about coaching, a little bit around the science of coaching, pricing, all those kind of things. We have a newsletter. Actually, it's a free book that my partner BJ Radomski and I wrote around coaching to kind of get a good outline and what is a coach's life like, what do you do, how do you get started. And BJ actually did a series of 3 videos just to look at some basic skills that we look at it much more in depth on the coaching process, etc. So that's probably the best place to start. I have a number that I can give out to if people want to call me. Sometimes I request people to maybe first have a look at the website, get some questions around it, and then give me a call. But I'll give you a toll-free number is 888-595-4424. That's 888-595-4424. You will most likely get a recording, voicemail. Just leave a message, phone number, a couple times to get back to you, and someone will get back to you and kind of go through the process. But the website has some good information on it, especially some basic stuff. What's the cost? How long is the program? What are the different options and things like that? So it's good, but then it's also good for us to have a good connection. One of the things about our school that's a little bit different is you cannot just go onto the website and go, I want to do this, click on register now and sign up for the class. We actually have a registration process, and part of that is to speak with me or one of the other directors in the school to make sure that we're a good fit for you, that we understand your goals, we're confident, you're confident this is a good step, and that we walk together forward through this process. So that's the best way to go forward if anyone's interested in coach training.
I understand that your services are available all over the world. Is that true?
Yes. We have students in, I think, close to 40 countries now.
Wow.
Our main core program, especially in BJ Radomski, he grew up in Canada. He moved to Thailand, I think, 10, 12 years ago. He does a lot of live trainings in Asia, traveling around to China, Vietnam, etc., India, etc., and doing live training. We focus much more in North America on virtual trainings. So our core program is a 24-week program. We offer the lecture live interactive class 3 times per week, Tuesday and Wednesday evenings and Wednesday morning, and that's the required time, that 90-minute class. And then, of course, there's group practice sessions, private peer coaching sessions, mentor sessions. There's a whole lot involved, but that's kind of the formulation of our main core program is the 24-week program. We have one that's a fast track program for people that could be listening. There might be consultants, coaches, therapists, counselors, social workers that they already have a lot of good skills, but they want to know the distinctions specifically around professional coaching, executive coaching, and how to add those. And we have a quicker program, but we're basically an online or via telephone coach training school. and that's how the majority of our students interact with us, and how we're able to have. We have our first graduate from Serbia, Czech Republic. We have a couple students from Yemen.
Wow.
Which was amazing. The one student that came in from Yemen, this is just an aside, but it was when they started going through their civil war, and they had just had a baby, and I'm here giving this person a coaching session, and I'm hearing bombs going off in the background. It was very distressing, and it was shocking. But here's someone trying to go through their normal life, and it's wonderful for me, because I feel like how I'm able to help people and still move forward, but it's been a great learning experience for me to understand different cultures, etc., and for the other students that come in our program, because they'll be able to interact with all these different people too.
Steve, I appreciate it. And for everybody listening on Main Street Mavericks Radio, this has been a wonderful, in-depth look at the coaching field and all the reasons why you might want to hire a coach. And if you do, Mr. Steve Kiges from the Coach Academy is definitely the first person you should call. Steve, I really thank you very much for being with us today. I wish you good health, a happy holiday, continued success, and I hope you help as many people as possible come up with the right map for their own life. Thank you very much for being on Main Street Mavericks Radio.
My pleasure, Joel. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. And I always end the show by saying, have a little fun every day. Don't save it up.
You've been listening to Main Street Mavericks Radio with Joel Helfer. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit mainstreetmavericks.com.